In the past 2 races of this season, we have seen some very odd qualifying times.
What do you mean Rosberg set a lap time of 2 minutes 29? I'm sorry, what? What do you mean Rosberg on the options set a lap time of 2 minutes 29? Kvyat apparently did a lap time of 15 minutes 17 seconds. Oh bloody hell, the game's fucked up again. And Massa was the... What do you mean Massa did a lap time of 44 seconds? What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. What? It's happened again. Massa's broken the game again. Oh, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. What do you mean he did the first sector in 400ths of a second?
And after last race's debacle, there have been lots of people in F1 who have been complaining about the system.
Think bigger than your own team for a moment. Think about what's right for Formula 1. You do what's right for your team. That's what I'm paid to do. Which is why you can't put the teams in that position. That's why Sean's responsible for writing the rules. Those guys need to get together and sort it out.
So what's the problem from your side?
Well, I think the difficulty is you've got self-interest. And once you've got self-interest, you're just going to have everybody driving it down to the benefit of the teams. It's got to be taken away from them.
Rest assured though that qualifying is back as per usual and is no longer being fixed by teams for self-interest reasons. And now we hope that would have ended the weird drama, but instead, during free practice we had a man run across the start-finish line. But with that sorted now, and the qualifying issue sorted, let's see if we can have some good drama with some exciting and fast-paced racing for the Chinese Grand Prix. Okay, so qualifying fixed and working perfectly, as previously mentioned, let's go on to the qualifying report. So we start in Q1 and Button's lap was by no means a quick lap and his second lap was even slower, but he was saved along with a lot of other cars as 5 cars didn't set laps at the start of the session. Now the problem was as the track got wetter as it went along, so even come the end of the session, cars actually went out on intermediate tyres, with Kimi Räikkönen out exploring the conditions. But that meant those 5 people who didn't set a lap at the start of the session when the track was at its best were unable to set competitive lap times come the end of the session, and so just didn't bother setting ones at all. Those were from 20th up to 16th, Marcus Ericsson, Valtteri Bottas, Felipe Nasr, Felipe Massa, and Daniel Kvyat, who actually lost out the least out of them lot as he's in 16th. Q2 saw a less crazy and bit more predictable session, and also was the opposite of Q1 in terms of track conditions. Rather than getting wetter as the session goes on, this time the track actually got drier and hotter as the session went on. And as such, Button went out late on in the session. He didn't bother at the start when the track was poor, but he did bother at the end of the session when the track was at its best, and set a lap time of 7th, which later became 10th, as cars that went out after him set their laps. But at the end of the session, it was both Manors that went out, then both Force Indias, and then Alonso, the last person to go out, with Will Stevens the quicker of the 2 Manors, and Hulkenberg the quicker of the 2 Force Indias. And also, Button beat Alonso by only 7,000ths of a second, and that was the difference between getting into Q3 and getting knocked out at the end of Q2. Q3 is when we saw China basking in beautiful sunshine and a bone-dry track from the start of the session right until the end. And this also meant that with the track conditions perfect, Button set his first sub 1 minute 40 lap. And there was also a showing of respect between the 2 British drivers of Button and Lewis Hamilton, as Button abandoned his second flying lap in order to not hold up Hamilton during his flying lap. Button's goodwill actually ended up rewarding him as he qualified a very impressive 6th, which is much higher than expected from the McLaren Honda. And Hamilton was also rewarded with that gesture as he got pole for tomorrow's race. The leader of the Drivers' Championship, Kimi Räikkönen, was 2nd, with his teammate Vettel in 3rd. Maldonado strung together a very good lap as he qualified in 5th, which is very impressive for the Lotus. And the last notable result is Nico Rosberg way down in 10th this qualifying session. We don't know why Rosberg was so slow this session, although he did abandon his second flying lap. And whether that is linked to his slow pace is just a theory, but it does make sense because normally we should see Rosberg on the front row. But some very interesting results of Rosberg being way down, Button being way up, Maldonado being way up, the Manors being higher up than they should be, the Williams being way lower than they should be. We could be in for an interesting race tomorrow. Okay, so here we are on the grid just before the race. Basically, you know, I think our qualifying result, 6th, is just spellbinding, really. I don't know how much we can really do from this position, because obviously the McLaren Honda really shouldn't be this far up, and it's lights out, and we are off for the start of the Chinese Grand Prix. I almost forgot what country we were in for a second. And Sainz is trying to make a move down the outside, and we've been able to hold it, taking the inside line, and we got past Maldonado and Ricciardo, and we might be able to get past Kimi Raikkonen, although obviously he's got the Ferrari power, which does give him a massive advantage, obviously, and the Ferrari chassis, but he is on the prime tyres, which means that obviously he's not going to have as big of a grip, obviously, in the corners and braking distances as well, which means that actually we were able to get past Kimi Raikkonen purely because he's on the prime tyres. Now here's a replay of the start from the Manor's point of view, Will Stevens specifically, and just look how they, well, Stevens and Merhi, just look how they just form a little duo. Here, it's brilliant. Just they're side by side next to each other, which means that the 5 cars, which, you know, started behind them only because those cars were caught out by the weather conditions. And, you know, and Stevens and Merhi, they're making sure that they stay behind by going next to each other. And Stevens actually thought, screw this, I can make a move on Kvyat here, and he damn nearly did. So basically what the Manors seemingly are trying to do is block off everyone behind him from getting past by using a teammate teamwork, by blocking off all people, and then Stevens decided to pass a Red Bull. Speaking of which, we got passed by Kimi Raikkonen, and it's pretty inevitable because, although actually we do go late, really late on the brakes there, a bit too late, and not only do we let Raikkonen pass, we also let Ricciardo and Maldonado past us actually. And now we're going to try and get past Ricciardo. We run off wide, track extending, and we overtook Ricciardo, and we're actually going to keep the place. That is very naughty to us keeping the place. And then, well, it's kind of irrelevant anyway, because next lap, Ricciardo's just going to get past us. Obviously, he's got the Renault engine, which isn't that powerful, but it's much more powerful than the Honda engine. And as such, Ricciardo is able to blast past us down the straight, and that is without DRS, because obviously this is still only lap 2. And I was kind of hoping for the track to get wetter, obviously, because the clouds, it looks quite ominous weather conditions. It still looks ominous here on lap 3, and the problem is with these wet conditions, and now with DRS, we've got, you know, Hulkenberg going past us, although we do actually make the move back up on the inside and retain 6th place. But to be honest, that happened every single lap. Someone passed us on the DRS straight, and most of the time we were able to brake late and keep the place. Although what does happen here is Kimi Raikkonen actually passes Lewis Hamilton for the lead of the race, and Hamilton, because he's not as clever as I am, doesn't try and make the move down the inside, because Vettel was actually holding the inside line. And, you know, Hamilton's lost the lead, is now in 2nd place, and look, just demonstrating it happens again. Mercedes-engined Lotus of Romain Grosjean gets past us, but again, just hold it round the inside, and I was kind of hoping for the clouds to form rain, which meant DRS would be turned off. Was going to neutralise any performance deficit that this car's got. Never happened. Although what did happen is Rosberg, who's also on the prime tyres, finally is able to filter his way through the field, and we're trying to fend off Rosberg. It's kind of all in vain, really. The only reason we are doing it is because obviously he is German and we're British, rivals in the National F1 Championship, but Rosberg does get past us. The second of the 3 prime runners, the prime runners of Raikkonen, Rosberg and Stevens is the 3rd prime runner, and look at this. This just shows what kind of a mess DRS makes. I mean, what happened here? I mean, we got outpowered with our Honda engine. There was carnage, really. Someone passed us, and Perez did, but we're going into the pits anyway. It was Hulkenberg who's ahead of us, so Hulkenberg and Perez are the 2 cars who passed us, although Hulkenberg's dive into pits like I have. And we actually pit in a bit earlier than recommended. We pit in on lap 7 because I've seen, honestly, from some other F1 YouTubers, when I've seen their videos of this game, this is genuinely where I got this from, they seem to, what some of them seem to have done is pitted a lap more than the game recommends. So the game recommended a 2-stop, but your tyres are dead if you follow that strategy. Now if you do a stop extra, your tyres can be fresher and obviously keep on the pace longer. So really I thought, do the extra stop, pit in early and not waste our time on worn out tyres, and that's the thinking behind it. That's why I pitted in quite early, although Hulkenberg seems to be planning a similar strategy. But we're down in 18th, we're absolutely nowhere to be honest, but we do get past Sainz and just about get past Hulkenberg, so we are up into 16th place, but obviously we've done a stop more than pretty much all of the runners at the minute. Now Felipe Nasser is ahead of us, who's well in the pit, so that puts us up into 15th, well 13th until Hulkenberg gets past us. Now can we try and repass him? Yeah, we're going to go right, hug the curb, and we're just about going to get past Hulkenberg. Now we got Massa going very slowly. I mean, Massa's just come out of the pits going very slowly. It's almost like, it's what Vettel's done in the past couple of episodes, or at least, I don't know, he definitely did it in Australia anyway. You know, where the cars just come out the pits and just go incredibly slowly, but, you know, I mean, it sucks to be Massa because it meant that we were able to get past him, obviously, just before he warmed up his tyres and obviously before we get onto the back straight where his Mercedes engine's just going to power him past us, just like it just says there. Actually, Massa got past us before the DRS detection point, which shows just the kind of dominance the Mercedes engine has, especially over the Honda engine, and obviously the Williams is probably the quickest car in a straight line, because that's the kind of aero setup that they run, as well as obviously their engine, and we are able to get DRS back on Massa. Obviously it's all in vain really. I mean, the DRS, if anything, just probably neutralises the power disadvantage we've got. But anyway, up into P9, so we're back in the points positions, which is very impressive actually for McLaren Honda. Obviously they haven't scored too many points this season, and now Hulkenberg's got past us. We were having a massive scrap with the Force Indias this race. Obviously in qualifying, Alonso and Button, we both just got past the Force Indias. Nice corner cut. Anyway, we both just got past the Force Indies, and we were having a massive scrap with them, you know, ever since qualifying really, and P7 ever since some more cars pitted, although we are going to actually be pitting for our second set of option tyres. But what we have got to do in the process is hold off Valtteri Bottas, who is one of the cars we passed in the pits just a second ago. Although actually no, we seem to be pitting for the prime tyres. But anyway, while I'm focusing on what tyres we're going to be on, Valtteri Bottas has got past us. There's not really any point defending, because obviously there is no way in hell we should, you know, that we are rightfully ahead of the Williams. Obviously they both got massively screwed over in qualifying, where both of them, you know, just didn't go out at the start of the session in Q1, and so didn't set relative lap times. That's why they're stuck down. That's why Rosberg was stuck down with us earlier on in the race, because obviously he qualified 10th due to, I don't really know why, to be honest. He just was slow. But anyway, going to the pits for prime tyres. Obviously, the thing is though, the strategy, I could have used 4 sets of option tyres, but the problem is you have to use the prime tyres obviously if it stays dry throughout. So what I'm planning is I'm using these up until lap 20, or the end of lap 20, because then we'll use the option tyres for another perfect 7-lap stint, power it home to the end, because obviously we saw last race Kimi Raikkonen went on the option tyres for his last stint, and he was just flying, and that's kind of what I'm trying to replicate by going on the prime tyres in the middle stint. Anyway, we got past Sergio Perez into 13th. What is weird though is here's Lewis Hamilton. So this is, I believe, his 3rd stop, and he's on the option tyres again. So I don't really quite get what he's doing. Or that might have been his 2nd stop actually. I think that is his 2nd stop. But as you can see, he leaves the pits with option tyres. So that was his 2nd stop. So he started on options, then went to options again, then pitted again for a 2nd time to go back into option tyres. He did 1 lap, as you see. We sped up through that lap, so he got past the Williams, I believe, of Felipe Massa on the option tyres. Do you know what he does after 1 lap? Goes right back into the pits. And I can tell you that he does pit for the prime tyres. This is his third stop of the race. And we're on about lap 15 this happens, around about that. And he's pitting for the third time this race. And he didn't even get to properly utilise the pace of the option tyres, because as soon as they warm up, he fits on the primes. So basically, Hamilton is not doing the Brits much justice, and now the Honda engine isn't doing the Spaniard Fernando Alonso much justice, as that is the second engine failure retirement that Alonso's had in 2 races. Obviously, it happened in last race. It's happened this race as well. So the Honda engine is really screwing over Spain. But anyway, Carlos Sainz is obviously still in the running for Spain. But I think we may have passed him then. But anyway, we're into 9th. I'm pretty certain Sainz is one of the cars we got past just then. And now on to lap 19. So we're through the bulk of the race. And Kvyat is going very slowly. He's on the prime tyres as well. But I think he just left the pits. And it's the infamous, leaving the pits slowly thing that the AI seem to do. Because they've done it numerous times. And again, we're able to get past Kvyat. Well, we're able to get past Kvyat in a Red Bull, which obviously it's deserved in the sense that Kvyat slowed down, but it's not deserved in the sense that there's no way we should be faster than a Red Bull. But obviously, it's irrelevant because we come into the pits 2 laps later, I think, or was it a lap later? Whatever. We come into the pits anyway. For our final stop of the race, we're going to have a 7-lap blast on the option tyres. So we got a brand new set of option tyres, and we're going to do, because 7 laps seems to be the optimum amount of laps they can run before they just start to lose, a second or 2 a lap, really. And so yeah, a 7-lap stint, and we are 15th, just by Nico Hülkenberg. So things are looking bleak, but you've got to remember is that most of the other cars right now are running on the prime tyres, and so we're able to get past, well, alongside Hülkenberg. And I think for the first time this race, we're actually going to have DRS and someone else. I mean, the tables are turned. And obviously, this is what I'm talking about with the massive scrap with the Force Indias that we were having this race. Because they were always passing us, and then we repassed them. And now this time, the tables are turned. We were able to use DRS on them, and we got past them. And now it's Sergio Perez who's just ahead. So, really, one thing I've noticed is that the car most comparable to pace of the McLaren is the Force India. Although the Sauber is also fairly comparable in pace as well, to be honest. Anyway, and we're skipping on to lap 26. Literally nothing happened. It took us that long to catch up to the next car, which was Maldonado. It was Perez. Well, Perez came into the pits. We just saw just before we cut away. Perez came into the pits. And Nasser was the next car ahead, but then Nasser got past Maldonado and ended up being Maldonado the next car we had to pass. And we got DRS in him, but just ahead, look what's happened here. Nico Rosberg's got a flat tyre. That is his front left or front right as we're seeing it. And it's flat, and he's going extremely slowly, and he's holding up Max Verstappen, who's damaged his front wing, and the driver, I think that's Roberto Merhi. But obviously Rosberg's going to have to come into the pits. And Verstappen also comes into the pits to repair his front wing damage. We just about get past Maldonado, running him and ourselves out wide. But we are going to gain 2 places from that. Cutting the corner again, God. Didn't think I was this bad. But we're going to gain 2 places from Rosberg and his punctured tyre, and Verstappen coming in presumably to change his front wing, even though it didn't look that damaged to me. But I'm not going to complain. We're in 10th, Vettel leading, and Ericsson's going very slowly. And well, I'll show you a replay right now. It's going to come up right now. And look, he has not got a punctured tyre. There's no smoke, nothing. Ericsson is just going extremely slowly. I have no idea whether he came out of the pits, but no car goes that slowly out of the pits. And now, coming on to lap 27 this is, and look at the Manors teaming up again, although this is Will Stevens actually holding up Nasser, and Nasser was the car directly ahead of us, so Will Stevens is actually helping out his fellow Brits, because there we are, we were about 6 seconds behind Nasser, and we've now caught up because Will Stevens is helping out his fellow countrymen, his fellow Brits, by holding up Nasser for us, and that means that we should be able to get 4 points this race rather than 2. All we got to do is hold on to hold out Nasser, and now look what Hamilton's doing. This is the end of lap 27, so we're talking the end of the second to last lap, and Hamilton is coming in to fit option tyres. Now, he was going to have to stretch out his prime tyres, that's a given, but surely he could have stretched them out for another lap. There was no way he had to come in desperately. But anyway, lap Roberto Merhi there, and even though we're on the option tyres, they really did go off at this point. And so Nasser, obviously in the quicker car, but also on tyres which are less degraded than ours are, even though they're not as grippy tyres, they're just got more life in them, and that means that although Will Stevens did a brilliant job for us, he could have done a slightly better job and held up Nasser some more, although actually Will Stevens did get 2 5-second penalties for illegal blocking of Nasser there. 2 5-second penalties, that's how committed he is to helping out his fellow countrymen, but it might not be much use here because Nasser's got past us with the Ferrari engine, and these tyres are dead. I don't think we can outbrake him, although we don't really care, we're just going to lunge it, and to be honest, it's kind of a good thing we don't overtake Nasser here because, you know, that would have been a very dirty move. But actually Nasser looks like he's going to take 8th, and we're going to try around the outside here. Again, wouldn't have been allowed, but it's DRS, and we finished just behind Felipe Nasser as we got 9th place. And really, I think the highlights there were all the moments that Manor's had. Obviously the teaming up of blocking up the 5 people behind him at the start. Stevens getting 2 5-second penalties for holding up Nasser for us. Really, the Manors, the first race they took part in this season, and the Manors were brilliant for us. As you can see here, here's the 2 5-second penalties that Will Stevens got. Ricciardo got a 5-second penalty with a severe collision with Rosberg, which could be why Rosberg got that punctured front left tyre. And also, Nico Hülkenberg disqualified for blocking the pit lane, which it's happened again. It happened in qualifying in Australia. It's now happened again. Apparently someone was blocking the pit lane. He got disqualified. And I was going to check out what Ricciardo did to Rosberg and what Hülkenberg did. But going through the replay at the end of the race, and the game broke. It literally broke on me. But whatever. We'll just have to use our imagination as to what Hülkenberg did and what Ricciardo did to Rosberg. Anyway, after that crazy race, here's how the drivers' table looks, with Raikkonen still leading the drivers' title and Vettel second. And what's brilliant now is not only is Rosberg really low down, obviously scoring no points this race, he's still on 10 points and is way down the drivers' table. But also Hamilton only getting 6 points this race, obviously with him doing a weird 4-stop strategy. Valtteri Bottas and the Williams has got past him, and Kvyat is right behind him as well. Onto the Constructors' title, and it's just as weird as the Drivers' title, as Ferrari are dominating it with 111 points. They are completely smashing this Constructors' Championship, which obviously is completely inaccurate to real life and even to, a follow-up of the 2014 season. It's completely weird. But anyway, Mercedes are 4th in the Constructors. Obviously, Rosberg doing really poorly, and Hamilton just damaging his own chances, really. Even in only the 3 races, obviously Hamilton's going to incidents, and then this race he just went mad. And also Sauber actually scored their first points of the season at this race, and are now ahead of Force India and ahead of McLaren, only on a race position terms. Finally, onto the Nations table, Finland are dominating it, obviously with Raikkonen far excelling himself, and Bottas obviously doing brilliantly in the Williams. They're leading it. Russia, with obviously the lone Daniel Kvyat doing brilliantly, considering he is by himself. Obviously, if he slips up, Russia lose out big time, but because he has been a solid and consistent driver, Russia is 2nd, Australia 3rd, obviously just Ricciardo, and Germany have now overtaken Britain. Both of them are on really weird points totals, but Germany just overtook the UK here. Obviously, if Hamilton ruining his chances of scoring points this race and Vettel winning, that's why Germany are now ahead of Britain, with Mexico scoring their first points this series, as obviously Perez got 10th. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and it was an absolutely crazy race. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like, a comment, and any thoughts on this series and in this race and everything, because I just thought this race was a fantastic one, and I'll see you guys next time for the 4th race in the season around Bahrain.